How you got into this hypnosis thing? Was it a young age or did you?
No, I got into it. I call it divine intervention.
Yeah. Some people don't believe in past lives, religious people. So how do you address that?
Yeah. Oh man, every day. I work with NFL athletes, UFC fighters, Navy SEALs, all these high level people. And somehow I've convinced them that, you know what I mean? It's stupid.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Digital Social Hour. Got a great guest today. I got a hypnotist for you guys, Dom the Hypnotist.
What's going on, Sean?
How's it going?
Good, man. Good. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a bag here, and I wanted to say this before we start. So I brought you a little gift. I don't know if you're gonna like it, but we'll open it at the end of the pod, and then do you know Jack?
Jack O'Hara?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've done a pod here with him before, and I got him a similar gift, so you might already know what it is.
I don't.
Okay,
but thanks
cool.
so much.
Yeah.
Jack's a cool guy. I've been on that show too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so walk me through how you got into this hypnosis thing. Was it a young age or did you?
No, I got into it. I call it divine intervention, and I just say that because for so much of my life, from my first entrepreneurial endeavor was selling like 16 years old, and then once I was 18, I started to grow it and sell it and all that. And that kind of, at least back then, I'm 35 now, it was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, it's illegal. You got a lot of drama that comes around with that. People trying to steal from you, the whole thing. So right at about 18 and a half, I started selling life insurance. In the first 5 years, I was gung-ho. I loved it. I was really good at it. And then at some point, I just lost my steam with it. And I just, I got tired of it. And I took a little break from that, tried to start up a couple other businesses that just didn't go good. So I reverted back to what I knew, which is life insurance. So, I would drive around to people's houses every day, just hating my life, just like, there's gotta be another way. There's gotta be another way. And, I would just constantly think like, how can I get out of this job? But, I was good at it. So a lot of people get stuck in that, right? They're making good money, but they don't really want to be there, but they feel like they have to because they got bills and everything. And, one day my mom calls me and she's all excited. And she's like, hey, I went to this course and they teach you NLP and hypnosis. So for people that don't know what NLP is, it's neuro-linguistic programming. Tony Robbins made it like pretty big in like the 80s or whatever. And she's like, yeah, you can go to the course, you learn how to do hypnosis. And I was like, wow, I always thought hypnosis was it'd take you 2, 3, 4 years to learn.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you can learn it in a couple of days. Well, at the time she's like, yeah, it's $3,500. And I was maxed out on my credit cards. I let everything go. Everything was just,
yeah.
So a few months later, she ended up surprising me with an introductory course as a Christmas gift. So she gave it to me and I was like, all right, cool. So, I had no desire to do this for a living. I was just going to clear out some of my own,
Yeah.
And I went to the course about 3 months later. And in that 2.5 day span, I just changed so much as a person. Like you and I were talking a little bit before the call, you were asking about past lives and how your girlfriend did this thing and she cleared out some fear around water. And now she doesn't have that fear anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So in this course, you do a lot of that work. You clear out all your nonsense that you're holding on to. And, on that Monday when I got out of the course, I just knew. I was like, this is the thing that I've been searching for the past 12 years. I finally found it. And I said, okay, now it's time to get to work and figure out like, how do I make this something?
Wow.
So initially I made a goal that 6 months or sooner that I would transition over full time from doing insurance to doing hypnosis full time. And, I just went to a 2.5 day course. I didn't know what I was doing really. And so the first week I went out, I just took massive action. I worked with like 45 people for free, just doing quick little sessions. And after a week, I was like, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this. Because, you're doing all the stuff in the course with everybody. So it's a little easier. Now it's the real world. Can I really do this with people? So suddenly my 6 month goal turned into 3 months and I did another week and I worked with about 55 people or so. It was a little bit over 100 people within that 2-week span. And long story short, I woke up 2 weeks to the day. On that Monday, I had 10 appointments to go sell insurance, and I could just not physically get my body to go. My body's like, no, bro, we're not going. We're not getting in the car. We're not putting the key in the ignition. We're done. And so I messaged my assistant, who's actually still with me to this day. I said, hey, call everybody, tell them I'm not coming in today. And I said, that's it. I'm never selling another insurance policy ever again in my life.
Wow.
So I quit, and I hit a couple series of little lucky events, which maybe we could talk about in a little bit. But now, 4 years later, I've got other hypnotherapists who work for me, and we got a team of people. There's about 17 of us total, and we're growing, and we're growing every day. So it's been interesting. So
that's huge.
I love it.
Now, when people think of hypnosis, they think of the entertainment side of it.
Yeah.
They think about going on stage, getting hypnotized, and doing dumb stuff in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But you do hypnotherapy.
Right.
So you help people heal their traumas, right?
Yeah. So anytime people are experiencing a pattern in their life, like you mentioned with your girlfriend, right? She has a pattern of, I'm afraid of water. Why? What is this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is a deep dive into their subconscious and figure out where is this stuff coming from. Now, I primarily work with business owners and salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because that's what I've done my whole life, right? I did the thing and then the insurance thing, a couple other things. So I know what the psychology of what it's like to be that person. I know how difficult it can be, especially when you have these little this stuff in your mind that you don't know why it's there, but it's there. And so, yeah, anytime somebody's experienced a pattern, maybe it's in their business, maybe it's the type of people that they're attracting into their business, whether it's their clients, whether it's their employees, and then in their personal lives, how their personal lives can bleed into their businesses. So we do a deep dive and clear it all out so we can help people get to the next level in whatever aspect that may be for them.
Nice. And what are some common things you see patients struggling with? Anxiety, depression, are you able to fix those?
Yeah, I don't really deal with a lot of depression. Anxiety, yes, not in the sense of I'm just anxious because I'm anxious. It's more about, man, I've got this big thing coming up, or I'm scaling my business and they're having anxiety around that and those kinds of things. Anxiety, all anxiety is you're worried about the future. That's it. And all depression is you're stuck in the past. You can't get over something in your head. Now, science and people that are in that aspect, they'll go, oh, you got a chemical imbalance in your brain and that's why it's messed up and this and that. And I've worked with thousands of people, and what I've realized is that it's not really that. It's some internal thing that they just haven't moved on from, or that they're fearful of. And that's what's creating the chemical imbalance in their mind. So we help people, clear that stuff out so they can move forward.
Interesting. And one of the things I saw on your Instagram, I think you helped someone with their dyslexia, right?
Yeah. So that was actually a client of mine he's a business owner, and he came to me for just business stuff, right?
Yeah.
He was getting stuck at a certain income level. And throughout the process, he had mentioned that he had dyslexia. And so we did a deep dive into why he had dyslexia and what we discovered. So again, he didn't come to me for this. He just mentioned it and we went into it. And what we discovered is that when he was 5 years old or so, he realized his dad would get home from work, throw on the TV, just kind of sit back, and he would just do his thing. My client. What he realized is that when he would mess up on his homework, or he couldn't read, or he couldn't do something, his dad would give him attention. So as soon as we realized, hey, you're doing this to garner attention from your father, when we released it, the guy started reading books in freaking, a fraction of the time.
Wow.
And he was able to move past that. Now, is that going to work for everybody that has dyslexia? Honestly, I don't know.
Right.
That was like the one time we did it and it worked. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever. So yeah, things like that, man. It goes so deep, man. I could tell you so many stories and just how we subconsciously self-sabotage in one way or another. You want to hear an interesting story?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I work with business owners and salespeople. You could do hypnosis for a lot of things: quit smoking, weight loss, pain management, anxiety, depression, all these things. Well, the other day I was out to dinner with this guy's really successful restaurant owner, owns a bunch of restaurants all over the world, blah, blah, blah. And I'm actually meeting this guy for the first time. I'm there with a friend of mine. And, we get to talking and my buddy's like, yo, this is one of the best hypnotists in the world. They're Dom, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. And the guy's like, oh man, I've been thinking about seeing hypnotists. That's funny, whatever. So we're going through the conversation and we're there for hours and hours and hours. And it got to a point, my buddy tells this guy and he goes, hey, why don't you come work out with me, man? Come work out with me again. Remember we were working out together, we're all in shape. And he's like, nah, man, I can't. My body's in so much pain. And my buddy tells him and he says, well, your body's in pain because it's trying to tell you to work out. And then this gentleman says, no, man, I think my body's in pain. It's trying to tell me something else. So for me, that's a huge cue or a red flag or the alarm bells go off like, oh, there's something here. We got to go into this. So I said, hey man, do you want to get rid of your pain? And he kind of like everybody, there's 3 of us or 4 of us at the table. Everybody kind of looked at me like, what? Well, you got some cortisol injections or whatever the hell it's called. So I said, yeah, let's go into it. So he closes his eyes and, I ask him, I said, hey, subconscious mind, why are you making me feel pain? And it's fast. Like you don't got to go through a 30-minute induction. You just get there.
Oh, really? And you're at a dinner table, so it's kind of loud,
at a dinner table,
right?
Yeah. And he owns the restaurant, so his employees there, that kind of thing. And you could just see his eyes starting to wallow up with like blood, and you could tell he's like right on the verge of crying, and it's like, oh, and he goes, because I deserve it.
Whoa.
I'm like, yeah. And he's like, whoa, what's going on here, right? So he opens his eyes and realizes, oh, this is going to go really deep and I don't want to do this in front of, a bunch of people. So we kind of changed subjects and then my buddy's like trying to bring him back to it. Like, no, man, let's do it right now. And so I just decided in my head, I said, I'm not leaving until this is resolved. Like I can't just leave this guy to his own accord and just go through his life with all this pain. So I said, hey man, let's go in like a private room. You and I will just do our thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So we go in, and we dive a little deeper into it, and this is what we discovered. So the guy he's very, very successful, healthy, he's got a beautiful wife, just the perfect life, right? And meanwhile, his mother, his sister, his brother, all of them have some type of illness, arthritis, or all these different things. His dad died a few years back from some other issue. And so he subconsciously felt so guilty because his life was so perfect and he was having so much success and they weren't, not financially, not health-wise, not anything, that his subconscious mind thought, hey, in order for me to stay connected to my family, I have to share in their pain, right? Because if I have Mr. Perfect Life, they're going to resent me or be jealous or whatever. So therefore, if I create pain, that allows me to still stay connected to my family because they're in pain as well.
Wow.
So in the matter of 10 minutes or whatever it was, we took his pain from an 8 to a 2. And the only reason it didn't get to a 0 is I said, look, dude, we probably need another 45. It was 11:30 at night by this time.
Yeah.
Like I was running on like 3 hours of sleep. And I said, we probably need another 45 minutes. Let's continue this. We'll do it like Friday or Monday or something.
Yeah.
So, and once I get with him, we'll clear it out and he'll be done with it for good.
That's crazy. People don't even realize their subconscious is sabotaging themselves.
Yeah, man.
But it happens with almost everyone, right?
It's everyone. And a lot of it starts off as anxiety, starts off as depression, starts off as guilt, these emotions, right?
Yeah.
And then those emotions get heavier and then it's more frequent. And then what ends up happening is we get sick. And it might just be like, oh, I'm tired, or I got a cold, or I got a headache, or I got a stomach ache, I got ulcers. And then if we keep, what's happening is your subconscious, the alarm bells are going off. The check engine light's on. And people don't know that. So they just ignore, or they're going to the wrong mechanic, meaning that they go to the doctor and like, oh, you got a headache? Here's some pills. And then they realize that doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
So eventually, if they keep ignoring it and they keep ignoring it just because of out of ignorance, they don't know, that's where you get the heart attacks, the MS, the lupus, all these things begin to create within the body.
Yeah.
And once you can go in and understand that, you can begin to heal yourself and reverse a lot of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of adults, they date a lot of people, and some of them develop relationship trauma, dating trauma.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the things you specialize in. What have you seen with those types of
Oh
people?
man, so many. Let me think of a really. Oh, I got a good one. So one of the foundations that everybody must understand when they work with me or anybody on my team or whatever is that you are responsible for everything in your life. And when I say everything, I literally mean everything. I was just listening to this podcast last night, and I don't know if this might not be the exact quote, but the gentleman was talking about, I think it was Carl Jung or one of those guys. And he said, apparently Carl Jung, whoever it was, said, there's no such thing as a coincidence. If you step in a puddle, you better ponder why you stepped in that puddle. And what that means is that when you start seeing things in your external world, especially, it's like you stepped in the puddle. Okay, a couple of days later, you stepped in another puddle. Okay, a couple of days later, and you keep stepping in the puddle, there's a problem with that, right? So I had a client come to me one day, and she, her husband had cheated on her a bunch of times.
Right.
And every single time he cheated on her, it was always with her best friends. So she would meet these girls, they would become best friends, they click right away. And then 6 months, a year later, they would end up sleeping with their husband, right? And this literally happened well over 15 different women over the course of like 20 years. Yeah. So, at some point you got to go, why is it that I keep attracting these women that keep sleeping with my husband? This is not an accident, And there's a masterful way you have to get people to understand that they are the source of what's bringing that in. And there's a certain way to do it. And at first she was very abrasive. No, I'm not doing it. It's just, this is an accident. So long story short, once we put her in hypnosis and we started doing a deep dive, what we discovered is when she was about 13 years old, she was dating this 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And about 2 months into the relationship, she found out that this dude previously dated her older sister. So she obviously was like, oh man, you're dating my sister, cut it off. Well, she never told her sister. So she felt all this guilt, like, oh man, I dated my sister's ex. This is messed up, but she never told her. Well, subconsciously, kind of like what I said with the other gentleman, he believed he deserved the pain. Well, she believed that she deserved to be betrayed.
Wow.
And she believed that she deserved to be betrayed by her sister, right? Her best friends, the people that are closest to her, because she felt like she betrayed her sister. So, and she had been to therapy and all these other things for so long for this. And in that moment, she was able to heal and let it go and let go of the hurt and the sadness and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty wild, what's in the mind,
Yeah, that's crazy. I really like what you do because I've tried therapy and I didn't see any tangible results, honestly. But with what you do, you're actually getting to the core root of the problem and addressing it.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with therapy, it's not that it's bad, but here's the thing. We have our conscious mind and then we have our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is our logical brain, right? That's the reason, the ration, all that. The subconscious mind is the other, and the conscious mind is about 5% of our brain power. The other 95% is our subconscious. So our subconscious is where all of our memories are stored. It's where our personality, everything of how we perceive the world is in our subconscious mind. So what happens is that people will experience something in their lives and that creates some type of, like the woman I just told you, right? A belief, some type of guilt or whatever. And they begin to live their life through that lens. Well, if I ask somebody, let's say somebody comes to me and they're like, man, I got this. I just got so anxious all the time. I don't know why. And I said, hey, dude, do you want to get rid of your anxiety? They would say, of course I do, right? No shit. However, even though they logically, consciously want to get rid of their anxiety, their subconscious may not. So their subconscious may go, I don't know if I want to get rid of my anxiety because I'm afraid if I do, my anxiety is actually a protection mechanism to keep me from getting rejected or to keep me from failing or whatever. So it becomes this conflict where part of them wants to let it go and the other part of them doesn't. Now, the hang up with therapy is that if the person's subconscious mind is not 100% on board, it won't work. So remember, it's 95%. So if 5% is saying yes, 95% saying no, it ain't going to work.
Right.
So there's a process which you go through where you get the 95% to agree. And once it agrees, boom, you're able to let that stuff go.
Interesting. And how do you deal with skeptics and haters? Because there's some people that think this is all BS.
Yeah.
Some people don't believe in past lives, religious people. So how do you address that?
Yeah. Oh man, every day. All
your comments.
Every day. Yeah. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just, snake oil salesman and this and that. I'm like, really? I work with NFL athletes, UFC fighters, Navy SEALs, all these high level people. And somehow I've convinced them that, you know what I mean? It's stupid. But anyways, most of the time I just ignore it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I used to like go back and forth, like,
Yeah.
Meet up with me. I'll buy you a lift. I remember this one time this guy in Vegas was talking and I was like, hey bro, I'll lift you to my house and come fight me. Cause I'm with it. Like I'm okay with that. And I just realized I can't. So I just ignore it. I don't go into it with people. Now when people are on the fence, right? They're like, man, I feel like they just need maybe they need an experience for themselves. So one of the things that we do within my company is we provide people intake calls, right? So intake call, we do a deep dive into their subconscious and we bring all this stuff to the surface. So once people experience that, like for example, the gentleman, the pain guy, right? Once somebody, he was skeptical at first, like how are we going to get rid of my pain right now? Right. That doesn't make any sense. Once he realized and we got it to the surface, now he's bought in. And he's like, wow, this dude just changed my life in 10 minutes, at dinner. Like what the So part of it is giving people an experience. And one way I do that is like, I'll do lives. I have an app that people can download, and they can go on there and like do some free hypnosis stuff and everything. And yeah, man. So you want to hear a crazy story? Yeah. So, and I love telling this on every podcast because it's so mind-boggling that it just makes you think like, whoa, what's going on? So in the NFL season of 2021, I've been working with the client and we started off, he's like a third. It's funny because I said he was like a fourth or fifth stringer and he corrected me. He's like, yo, I heard you on that podcast. You said I was a fourth. He's like, I was a third stringer. I was like, all right. So I started working with him and about halfway through the season, he finally got his first start, right? So, he comes to me, he's like, yo, Dom, freaking, I get my first start. I'm a little nervous. If there's anything we haven't done yet, now's the time to do it, right? Yeah. So what we did was when you're in the NFL, you play a new team every week. You got to learn their playbook. You got to learn what the offense is doing, whatever. Right. So we took the plays of the other team. I put them in a hypnosis recording and I said, loop it throughout the night, like a sleep hypnosis, right? Now, up until this point, this was probably 2 years in being a hypnotist. I never really believed in the whole sleep hypnosis thing just because I'm thinking, dude, you're asleep. How can this help you, Right. But I figured it wasn't going to hurt. So I said, do it. So he starts listening to it Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Sunday, he texts me after the game and he goes, dude, I've never been more in tune with what the other team was going to do. He's like, bro, it's like I knew exactly what they were going to do before they even did it. Whoa. Yeah. So I'm thinking, all right, it worked. First of all, I'm like, thank God it worked, right? But I'm thinking, all right, maybe there's something to this whole sleep hypnosis thing. So a couple of weeks go by and the thought was like in my mind, like, man, maybe I should do something with the sleep hypnosis. So I found this video as a sleep hypnosis and it's all about creating abundance financially, right? Like attracting things into your life. And, it was a YouTube video, it had millions of views, thousands of comments. And I'm going through the comments and there's just so many comments saying, I started listening to this and boom, the next day I got $2,000 or 10 grand or this or that. And at first I thought these have to be bots, like pumping up this dude's account. But I would look at their pages. I'm like, oh, this person has like 20,000 subs. They upload all the time. This person has 40, whatever. So I'm like, all right, this is legit. So I figured, all right, it ain't going to hurt. I'm going to be sleeping anyways. Let's listen to it.
You use headphones or just speaker?
Just speaker. Yeah. Okay. You could do headphones or speaker. So I started listening to it on a Tuesday. And by Sunday, four days, wherever that is, we had our biggest week ever at the time by about almost 50%. So this was great. Now at the time, there was only 3 people on my team, including myself. So we had 50% more clients, which is awesome. The problem is 50% more clients also comes with 50% more work. And I just didn't have the team like I do now and the bandwidth. Yeah. So it was so effective that I had to stop listening to it. I'm like, bro, too much money's coming my way.
Send me the link, man. I'm in.
I'll get you after this for sure. And so then I stopped listening to it, right? Well, the weeks would go by, maybe it was a couple months, I don't remember. And I was just thinking like, dude, there's got to be a way that I can create something myself, but make it to where I don't have to work so much extra and make it more of like, hey, I can make more money with working the same or less, right?
Yeah.
So I created my own sleep hypnosis and I put it out on YouTube. I put it on Instagram. I just started giving it out.
Nice.
And within a couple days, I got a ton of great feedback. You know, people are like, dude, deals are closing that have been sitting there for months and my calendar's booking up. People are getting raises out of nowhere, all kinds of cool stuff. And then other people were saying that the recording sounded like it was corrupted and they couldn't understand it or whatever. So I was like, all right, maybe, I don't know, maybe they need to update their phone. I don't know what it is. So I just left it at that. Well, a few months after that, I decided to start giving this as a part of our program. So we work with business owners and salespeople. And what do business owners and salespeople want?
Money.
More money, right? So I was like, all right, when you come into our program, this is part of the process. You're going to listen to this, sleep hypnosis, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So boom, same thing. People are getting great results. Other people couldn't hear it. Well, then one client, she texted me one day and she goes, Dom, I think I'm going crazy. And I said, what's going on? You know? And she goes, I could hear the recording for like the first 3 or 4 days, but now it's like the video is corrupted. It sounds like it's in a different language. So I said, I've heard this before. Screen record it, send it to me.
Yeah.
So she screen records it. She sends it to me. Sounds clear as you can hear me right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nothing, it's fine. Well, about an hour later, she messaged me and she goes, oh my God, you're never going to believe this. And I said, what? And she goes, I just showed your recording to my partner and we're in the same room. They're listening to the same thing and she can hear it perfectly fine, but I can't understand it. It sounds like it's in Latin or it's in a different language. So I'm thinking like, on here, what's happening, So I said, okay, let's talk about it in our next session. So a week goes by, we jump on the call and I want to see it for myself, right? So I pull up the Zoom, boom, hit play. Sure enough, I can hear it as clear as day and she cannot understand a word.
Whoa.
Now she can read the caption on YouTube, but the sound is not processing in her brain.
Yeah.
So I went just intuitively, I'm like, all right, well, if she's not hearing it, her mind must be blocking her from accepting whatever the affirmation is.
Wow.
So I said, all right, close your eyes. And then we went through piece by piece, right, of the affirmation and we broke it down. And what we discovered is that she had all these fears around success. So she had a fear that if she did get a large amount of success, she wouldn't be able to handle it. She was afraid that she couldn't handle multiple streams of income. She was afraid that when she became successful, her friends and family would judge her and like kind of like envy her and outcast her. She was afraid that when she became successful, she'd be arrogant and cocky. She was afraid when she became successful, she wouldn't be happy. So there's all these like a list of like 8 things. So one by one, boom, we go through, like you mentioned with your girl before the call, you go find out where it is, boom, clear it. 45 minutes later, boom, I hit the recording and now she can hear it perfectly fine again.
Wow.
Right? So now I do a group call with my clients. All of us are like entrepreneurs in business. So we get together, I share different things. I'll do meditations, whatever. And I share this with everybody in my group. And a couple more people are like, yeah, dude, I'm having the same experience. So one by one, I jump on and sure enough, boom, we'd clear it. They couldn't hear it. And then we clear it. We couldn't hear it. And then we clear it. Well, then it gets even crazier. A few weeks after that, I had everybody create their own affirmation on this app. It's called the Parrot app.
Yeah.
And essentially you say, let's say you're like, all right, I want to make millions of dollars and be super confident or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
So they come up with their own affirmation in their own voice and they put it on this thing. And when you play it, it'll just loop it till the end of time until your phone dies. So people created their own thing. And within 4 or 5 days, the people that created their own affirmation in their own language and their own voice could not understand their own. So then we'd have to go in and clear out, like, why are you not allowing yourself to hear this? So it's a very fascinating thing that just kind of unfolded. And, you know, I've recently had a client, I was telling the story about my buddy that passed away in my group. And when, you know, there was a part where I say, yeah, and I picked up the phone and I started talking to my buddy and this and that. And she told me afterwards, she goes, Dom, when you started talking and right when you got to that part, she goes, for the next 20 minutes, I could not understand a word that was coming out of your mouth. It sounded like you were speaking underwater.
Whoa. And
then she fell asleep. She's like, and then out of nowhere, my phone drained of the battery and I just passed out. So it's an interesting phenomenon because it makes you think like, all right, what are we not seeing? What are we not hearing?
Yeah.
What do I want? And it's right there. But because I have this fear or this block, I'm not allowing it to come into my existence. You know what I mean?
That's insane. That's trippy to think about what words I'm blocking from my my language or whatever. But Dom, it's been a pleasure, man. Anything you want to close off with?
Yeah, let's get you to open this up. Again, you know, I don't know if you're gonna like it or not, but because I looked at your profile, I was like, oh man. But you know, we'll open it. If anything, you could use it as a little collector's item.
Sick. Thanks so much, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Ethically sourced leather. Nice. Oh, new flops. Let's go.
Oh, you wear flip flops?
Wow. Yeah, I do. Every day.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And it's got my logo on it. That's sick. Thanks so much, dude. Is this your company?
No, it's one of my buddies. He lives here. Well, he lives in Henderson.
Wow.
But he makes these flops and everything. He's all the top dudes in like the MMA and that whole world. They all rock that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw most of your posts have shoes on them. He's like a sneaker guy. Whatever. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. So
no, I got a pool, man, and I wear flops every day at home. So thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
For having me, for sure.
Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.